Hello beer tubers and welcome to another Throwback Thursday with me, Peter, the Master of Hoppets, throwing back with more Samuel Smith's beer. I told you guys I would do this when I did my review of the India Ale, which I really dug. That was awesome. So let's see if I enjoy this one as much as I did back in the day. So this is a beer, like pretty much all the dark beers from Samuel Smith's I used to hold in really high regard. And this is their Taddy Porter. So this Taddy, oh, I can smell it. It smells really good. It's a 5% English style porter, and there's not much info really on the bottle or online, except that it's made with well water from their well, and that it's made using malted barley, roasted malt yeast, and hops, and fermented in Yorkshire squares. That's it. They use cane sugar, possibly for bottle conditioning. I don't know. Often that's the classic English way where you have some sugar of some sort in the bottle to do bottle conditioning, or I don't know, it could be just to dry it out a bit. It could be many things because it also says carbon dioxide, so it could be forced carbonated or whatever. And you might be thinking, why do you care about all that stuff? Well, that's because usually back in the day, a lot of traditional English breweries prided themselves in making beers that were bottle conditioned if they were served in bottles. Supposedly that should have the beers last longer and whatnot, but who knows. The Taddy Porter, man, I haven't had this in a while. I think the last time I got this and the oatmeal stout, those are the last two beers I had prior to all this, and also the chocolate beer I haven't had before, was just for going to a party. I think I just bought them just to revisit them. But let's do it. Let's check this one out. I reviewed this probably like 2011 or something like that. But yeah, black color, quite dark, actually. It is pretty much pitch black. For 5% beer, there's not a lot of light bleeding through the glass. When I poured it, it had the most amazing, frothy, fluffy-looking tan head, chestnutty brown. It looked awesome. But yeah, looks nice. Let's check out the aroma. Oh man, that smells so classic. Really, really old school. There's loads of toasted roasted malt, and I'm also getting loads of blackcurrant gummies. Sometimes with these yeast profiles in these classic English beers is like overripe fruits, or in combination with other ingredients, it can be like candy-like almost. And I've often in dark beers with English yeast gotten aromas that reminded me of like blackcurrant gummies or English wine gums, really, the blackcurrant flavored English wine gums. I'm totally getting that in here. There's definitely a nice toastiness. There's a slight ashiness, even like a burnt note from the roasted malt. Lots of nuttiness, actually. Hints of treacle or molasses. Molasses? It's almost the same as far as I remember. But it's something like that. Almost like a hint of a savory note. Almost like Marmite or something. Super light. There's also a touch of licorice. And then there's some spicy hops there as well. And lots of like really nicely charred bread. Like a bread that's almost like burnt, but like just really charred slice of bread. It smells really nice. Let's try it. Cheers. Oh man. For a 5% beer, I like usually porters and stout and all that, I've always been like, oh yeah, I want the big stuff where it's sludgy and thick and rich. Like, this just tastes so well crafted. It's not sludgy, it's not thick, but it's pillowy, it's soft. It's got a slightly velvety texture for 5% beer, which is really impressive. Higher acidity than you expect going in, probably from the roasted malts. But really nice roasted barley character, like sharp roasted malt character. And with the acidity, you keep thinking more of that like blackcurrant wine gum or blackcurrant gummy, like a fun yeast profile that's like that. Much more roasty on the flavor than the aroma indicates. Also like a light sweet toffee malt. Man, there's so much like wine gum. Like dark blackcurrant wine gum, and like just like really dark, almost like blackberry or something like these really dark berries. charred, burnt wood. I was about to say touch of chocolate, but it's really light. It's more like burnt and fruity flavors in this one. There's also a touch of sweetness. It's not oats, because I'm 100% sure that there's no oats in here. They'd have to put it on the label. But there isn't their oatmeal stout. But there is a touch of sweetness in this. Just a little. Could just be malt sweetness, like a caramel malt or something, like a slight toffee type thing. Quite astringent and tart, like puckering almost from the roasted malts. But man, you could tank this. It's also the perfect temperature right now. See, it's so fun to go back to these classic historic beers. And sometimes, as I've had happen not too long ago, they just fall through. They've been changed, they've been bought up. It's not the same. Just look at my old Hobgoblin review with Hobgoblin Gold, and also my Young's Double Chocolate. But this just, it's exactly what I remember. Exactly. There's no change. It tastes like the same beer that's been brewed for like 30 years. And it's probably more than that. I don't know when they started brewing the porter, but it just tastes so classic and traditional and then dialed in. Like, you can taste that this is a product that's been brewed, or a beer. It's been brewed for quite a few times. Like, they know how to do this. It's interesting with that blackcurrant flavor. I dig it. I think that's one of the things with stouts being so sweet and over the top these days. Any trace of acidity, people start thinking infections. This is a great showcase that, like, hey, roasted malts bring acidity, and that's why the beers taste like this. But yeah, there's that really heavy charred breadiness to it as well. Almost a hint of licorice. Not a lot, but a little bit. As you can see, it's just going down. I drank half a pint already just talking about it. But you go for big gulps because it's so easy drinking. Maybe the slightest hint of butterscotch diacetyl-esque thing on the flavor. But it's acceptable in historic English beer, especially when it's like low threshold and just gives complexity like it does in this. This is great. This is really good. I know there's been all these issues with the brewery, but I'm just really digging that they're sticking to their guns with their beers and that they're still as good. There's like not a big change in how they're made. Yeah, it looks like it's not bottle conditioned. The last few drops that came out of the bottle there was definitely quite clear. So no yeast in there. Yeah, this is really nice. It's a great English porter. Pretty much like a benchmark example of how a classic historic porter should be. Compared to something modern, it's going to be way different. I'm 100% sure that this is not going to be for everyone because it has that higher tartness and a lot of fruitiness. But in a low strength session beer, it works really well, I think. Because this is a session beer. I could definitely drink a few of this. It's just really, really, really good. Really good. I'm not floored. It was what I expected to some extent. And I'm just really enjoying it. So, yeah, fun to revisit this. Let's give it a rating here. It'll be really fun to revisit the oatmeal stout because that was my favorite of all the dark beers, along with the imperial stout. We got all of them. So my original grade was 90, a 4 on Untapped. I'd probably stick to that. It's interesting though. I think it's also because I'm coming a bit backwards because at one point in time I was looking at my old ratings and some of these beers I've given really shitty scores. And I think it was at that point in time where I was like, craft beer and beer has to be like, oh boy, it has to be the biggest, the craziest. Like, instead of thinking there's a beer for everything, there's a beer for every moment, and beer, like, everything doesn't have to be craziness and over the top all the time. And like, you rate everything in a mindset that everything has to be crazy or over the top. Of course, you're going to be disappointed drinking a 5% English porter that's traditionally brewed. It's just really good. If I made this, I'd be totally stoked. This is something that'd be so fun to try and cask, just to try and see if it has even more of that current yeast flavor. Yeah. I think I'm sticking to my guns with a 90. Maybe a 91 even. Nah, 90. I mean, as far as I remember, I prefer the oatmeal stout a bit more. And I don't think any of them are probably going to be like 95s. But they're drinkers' beers. I mean, they're beers that you could drink a lot of. And that begs the question, should drinkers' beers be rated lower because they don't have the amount of flavor you exactly ask for, or should they be rated higher because you can just drink them all day and they're awesome to drink? It's this is so hard. It depends on how you rate. But yeah, this is really fun brewed. It was really fun to revisit. So if you guys had a chance to try Samuel Smith's Taddy Porter in recent times, let me know what you thought of it. As always, remember to comment, subscribe, check out the Facebook fan page on Twitter and Instagram, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Ring the bell for future notifications about videos. And I'm going to say cheers and some classic English beer. And see you guys in another Throwback Thursday.